Story, Jackie Chan's 1985 film. And that really got me. I caught the bug. I really wanted to make action films that looked and felt like that. That was really my sort of entry into action, was just trying to do that Hong Kong action style. I call it 2 second storytelling. And that was a really rude awakening for me because I learned that I couldn't just lean on the old ways that I had learned how to move. I had moved in this very Jackie Chan way, and that was not going to fly in this game. I had to move in a Kratos way. Bear in mind, when you play a game like God of War, you see a cinematic scene, you see the PCAP one time, right? You're going to see the cinematic fight with Balder or Magnium mode. You're going to see that cinematic one time. If you play it a second time, you see it the second time. When you swing an axe and attack an enemy, you're going to see that 10,000 times. So that axe swing has to look so good that it'll look good on the 10,000th time. Oh, navigation. So I did Demon Souls when they re-released it for PlayStation 5. And we would do these things called dance cards, which was this really complicated kind of movement set so that you could do every transition from any direction, from 45 to 90 to 135 to 180, both feet, 3 speeds, 24 different weapon styles. It took forever. And I definitely like learned how to walk and run after that. So I mean, if you like it's interesting to try this, right? Like it's interesting when you watch somebody who's new to mocap, who, by the way, you could bring an actor in who's done acting, right? But if you put them in that suit and you say, okay, now walk like a gangster, they don't know their left foot from their right foot anymore a lot of the time. So yes, the pay can be good, but if you don't have a way to go from one job to another, and it can be very difficult to network. I mean, networking in the games world is way different than networking in the movie world. The thing is, like as a performer, you're completely blind to that stuff. You probably won't get feedback. You
No.
probably won't hear these things. You'll hear it only in the sense that you get hired again. And what I'm trying to tell people is this: if you stake your success on the studio system, it will leave you naked and homeless on the street overnight. People don't know that. I don't know why they think that they're going to have like loyalty from these big studios. Like Netflix is going to hunt you down and try and make sure you're working. No, they're not. They're going to find the cheapest state, city. They'll move to Monaco tomorrow if they want to. If that's what it takes, it's like 5 execs. They'll just go over there with their laptops and they'll just start the studio there. Like if they want to do an AI studio, they'll just do it there. So what I'm trying to tell people, and I'm writing a book right now called Badass on a Budget, and it's how to make a zero budget action film. What I'm saying is like try and decouple yourself from the studios as much as possible. Of course, like if you're a stunt performer who's dependent upon the studio, that's one thing. But if you're staking your hope and future and dreams on the studio system, they don't care about you. When I do mocap, I don't know what it is, but like when I'm in that suit, I feel like way more vulnerable. It's like things hurt more. It's
Oh,
weird. Like if I bump my arm against the steel deck or something, I go, ow, ooh, right? I don't know what this is, but like when I'm doing mocap and I bump myself, like, ooh, ow, and I fall on the 8 inch, I'm like, ooh, ah, right? I don't know what it is. But then when I did Bag Lady, I was like, man, I'm gonna be able to do this. So we're just like wrecking on concrete and against trees and stuff. And it was like not painful. I think it's all here. A lot of injuries are mindset. A lot of injuries too are in training. People don't realize that. Like as a stunt performer, like you mostly get injured training, unless you have like a weird one-off thing with a piece of glass goes into your hand or something, right? But in general, like injuries come from training. It's like you're not an athlete. You don't have to do that. But they act
okay.
like they're athletes, and I'm not sure why. I would say stop doing that. And that's
Oh,
like I just
wow.
don't know like how important it is to be an athlete if you're a stunt performer. I don't know how important that is. I'm not convinced it's that important. I think
Okay.
technique is 99% of it, right? Technique and physics, right? Like fitness, like you don't need cardio, it's vitality on camera. That's
Mm.
what's going to get people, right? When you look real. It's my hot take on fitness. It's like just eat well and get enough sleep and you'll be fine.
Hey everyone, this is Abhi from No-Budget Filmmaking Podcast, and here with me is Eric. Hi, Eric.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for
So,
having me.
yes.
I'm a stuntman, action filmmaker of 25 years. I do motion capture stunts, and I think the thing that I'm known best for is God of War. I do the combat MoCap for Kratos. I've worked on Mortal Kombat 1. I have a company called Super Alloy, which is this one right here. We do motion capture for games. We worked on Call of Duty, God of War Ragnarok, Midnight Fight Express. So we work on indies and big games too. We've also worked on movies. We did Army of the Dead, mocap for that, as well as Electric State. I'm also an author and a researcher. As you can see, I have a little bit of a library behind me. I specialize in violence, which makes sense. Cinematic violence, perhaps, but violence in general. And I wrote a book on it called If These Fists Could Talk, which is a stuntman's unflinching take on violence, which is on Amazon.
Oh, thank you very much. You have such a rich career. That's really, really impressive. But how did it all started?
It all started with Police Story, Jackie Chan's 1985 film. And that really got me. I caught the bug. I really wanted to make action films that looked and felt like that. In the next 15 years after that, and that was when I was 18. In the next 15 years after that was just trying to achieve that style of action. And I had some Hollywood jobs. I did some stunts in, Mortal Kombat, the Mortal Kombat Legacy. I worked on A Good Day to Die Hard, Altered Carbon. I did a whole bunch of things, but my real passion was in just kind of trying to do that Hong Kong action style. I think maybe the best examples of that were I produced a feature film and directed it called Contour in 2005, which is on YouTube now. You can watch it on my YouTube channel. And we really just kind of did our best at making a Hong Kong action film. And we had $5,000, which was nothing to make a feature film, but we just did it. It took a year and we just cranked away at it. And after a year, finished this thing and sold it. And then after that, I think maybe, I guess maybe the best example after that would be Rope-a-Dope and Rope-a-Dope 2, which were produced by my mentor, Clayton Barber. We did those in 2013 and 2015, and those are on YouTube as well. You can watch those. So I like to put as much as I can on YouTube. I'm big on, uh, making sure everybody can see my stuff. But that was kind of like my real, that was really my sort of entry into action was just trying to do that Hong Kong action style.
But how did the mocap came into play?
So it's kind of funny because, I had a stunt crew. We had a stunt crew of about 30 people during Contour. And we all would hang out all the time. We were all friends and there were girls in there. We were dating the girls. It was fun. It was like my college experience, even though it was after college, but it felt like a real kind of like college experience, right? But then everybody starts growing up and, they get jobs, they have kids, they get married. Um, and I kept day jobs, but I just kind of stuck with it. And I really wanted to, pursue this indie action kind of lifestyle. Um, and I didn't really have many people around me at a certain point because so many people had moved away. A ton of the crew had moved to LA and like become successful. Maybe stunt performers. Some of them worked and started working in trailers. Some of them started working at video game companies too. So they all had like varying levels of success, but I kind of stuck around in the Bay Area where I had started a family, and I didn't really have anybody to make movies with anymore. But I really wanted to just kind of stay in shape and kind of exercise that. I really wanted to scratch that action itch. So if I couldn't do rope-a-dope, but I could do things alone in my garage. And what I started doing was copying moves from Tekken, the video game series. And I would just copy the character's movement in my garage and I'd play it side by side with the original. And I'd do the entire move list. I mean, it was kind of obsessive. These things would take me, 5, 6 days sometimes. And I'd spend hours just trying to do a single move sometimes because a lot of the movements in Tekken are not really performed by people, sort of animated by hand by somebody on a computer. Nobody's ever done these things in real life a lot of the time. Some of them, yes, but a lot of them, no. And I just was kind of hell bent on doing all of them. And if it was impossible, I'd make it funny. Anyway, and I put in some more comedy. Like I had a cat that would make a cameo in the video every time at the end. And and that kind of went viral. It really took off. And I trended on Facebook. The videos went viral. They shot up my subscriptions on the YouTube channel, but it was really tiring. Like you could say that in an alternate reality, I would have become like the Tekken in real life guy. And there are guys out there that do this now. Like there's this one, I can't remember his name, but he's a stuntman who does Mario in real life, and then he'll do, he'll mimic the Mario acrobatic moves, and he'll go to a gym and do it right. And these guys make viral videos, and they're different from what I did. Mine was very kind of mechanical and rapid fire. Theirs is like, okay, we're gonna do the challenge of doing Mario jumping over a block, but I'm gonna do it from, they make it very kind of like YouTubey. And I just couldn't like hit that kind of viral marketing style, right? I was just like dumping these move lists on YouTube and I was spending a ton of time, but it really wasn't like a way to live. Like there's no way you can make a living off of this. Even getting a million views on a video, the ad revenue is kind of like not very much, definitely not enough to make a living in the Bay Area. But they did catch the eyes of the animators who were working on the new God of War game in 2018. Well, that the game was released in 2018. This was back in 2015, 2016. And they called me up and they said, "Hey, we see that you know how to move like a video game characters, and that's kind of rare. Would you be interested in auditioning for this game we're working on?" They were really secretive about it. Games are really secretive. So I went in and found out it was God of War, and I had a kid at the time. Uh, and I was like, I want this job more than anything. Tell me what I got to do, and I'm going to do the best job I can. And then it kind of took off from there. And then I started getting more motion capture jobs, and the rest is history.
Hmm. How was the first experience with God of War?
So hard. So that wasn't my first mocap. I had done motion capture on Mafia 3. That was really my first big gig was Mafia 3 because it was in the Bay Area. I was living in the San Francisco Bay Area and 2K's based there. And they were looking for local stunt guys and I went in and worked on Mafia 3 for a year or so. And it was hard, but I wouldn't say the animators were like picky about the movements. They really just needed me to make sure that I hit certain metrics. So for example, in a game, when you're playing a video game, right, and if you're playing as the protagonist and you walk up behind an enemy who's turned away and you grab him and you snap his neck and throw him to the ground, right? Well, we have to motion capture that. So I would play the enemy and I'm 5'6". I'm not a big guy. And the guy playing the protagonist in Mafia 3 was like 6'2". He was pretty yoked, huge MMA guy. And he was rough, man. Like he would come out, he'd grab and he'd do that neck break, and I'd be like, please don't actually break my neck. You can fake this, right? And then when you throw me off there, let's put a pad over there, right? And we have to do that until we kind of get the motion right. And we'd get it pretty quick. Um, and the what happens then with mocap is they take the animation that you do as a performer because you're wearing the suit, right? It's got the balls on it and it records your movement in 3D. And then animators will then take that and they'll tweak it and they'll make it a little bit faster. They'll add a little bit of movement here. They'll scale it down over there. And then eventually it kind of looks right for game. And I found that we would just do a few takes and then we move on because there was a lot of shots to do. And so that's how I understood mocap. It's like, oh, yeah, get it right on the second or third time and you move on. That is not how God of War was. When we did God of War, I was working with guys, these guys had worked on this game for like over 10 years at this point, right? The series, because they had done God of War 1, 2, 3, Ascension, they'd done all these games, right? And this was like way down the line. And so they really knew this character and they really knew what they wanted. And they knew that when you swing an axe in God of War, it needs to look a very specific way. They didn't even really know what that was yet, but they wanted to find it. And I had to help them find that. And really, they were trying to help me find it. Is what it was. And man, we would do like 30, 40 takes because they were just trying to find that move. They were trying to get the weight right. Because Kratos is 6'6" or something in the game, and I'm only 5'6". It's just that my ratio fits Kratos, so it doesn't matter. You can be short or tall or whatever, as long as your ratio is good and as long as you move well, then your size technically doesn't really matter. And so I had to work really hard at making sure that I sold the weight and the power and the speed and the intensity and the character and the head movement and the leg movement and everything had to be like just right. And you're really only doing that for like 2 seconds. I call it 2 second storytelling. And that was a really rude awakening for me because I learned that I couldn't just lean on the old ways that I had learned how to move. I had moved in this very Jackie Chan way, and that was not going to fly in this game. I had to move in a Kratos way, which meant putting a lot of character into the movement. I had to be very precise, extremely precise. I had to be very big. I had to act huge. And I think from that, and I worked on that for 2 years. And from that, I learned how to move for motion capture in a totally new way. And it really opened up my mind about movement in general. And it kind of set me up for success on working on a whole lot of other games too. And I really credit it to those animators. They were fantastic.
Okay, just a follow-up on that. When you say 2 second stories, what do you mean? You're doing a movement on when he's calling the axe or slashing a guy, or what is it?
Yeah, okay, to back up, there's really two kinds of motion capture. There's PCAP, performance capture, where you're kind of acting a scene out, right? It's like a cut scene. Or maybe it's a moment that bridges two gameplay moments and there's some dialogue and your character goes and opens something up and moves over here and you're not really playing it. It's like a non-playable event, right? That's PCAP. Um, Films like Avatar, that's also technically PCAP, right? It's non-playable. The other kinds of mocha, and it's like theater. So you memorize it might be a 5 minute long shot, and it might be with multiple people. You might have dialogue. You might have props that you're interacting with. You've got an environment that you're working through. That's very different from gameplay capture or game cap. Game cap is all those little pieces that fit together to make the gameplay engine. So when you push forward on the controller and the character takes one step forward and you pull back real quick, right? So he just does this jitter step. That is its own animation of mocap. So everything in between your character kind of just like if you just let the controller sit there, your character will do what's called an idle stance. And the enemies will do this too. If an enemy is just standing there waiting for you to do something or they're idling, right? So anything that starts with an idle and then ends with whatever it's going to be next, that's going to be your game cap. And so when you're capturing game cap at game studios, they kind of have a whole bunch of holes in the gameplay system and you're trying to fill them all in. You're trying to do combat this day and you might do some navigation and maybe some falls and reactions. Next day you might do climbing on a rock wall or swimming, right? All that is game cap. And the animations are short. They're between 1 and 2 seconds long. But every time you do one, bear in mind when you play a game like God of War, you see a cinematic scene, you see the PCAP one time, right? You're going to see the cinematic fight with Balder or Magnium mode. You're going to see that cinematic one time. If you play it a second time, you see it the second time. When you swing an axe and attack an enemy, you're going to see that 10,000 times. So that axe swing has to look so good that it'll look good on the 10,000th time. And that's why I call it 2 second storytelling because you have 2 seconds maximum to tell that story and make the audience really believe that you are there as that character right now holding that weapon attacking these guys. And it's a different kind of mindset to go into because you don't phone it in. You have to like load a ton of context and it's just for 2 seconds. And you do that all day for every movement that you do.
Okay, so how do you prep for that? That, for example, does the game players help you with it? And obviously, you don't have the actual axe. I'm assuming you have a motion stick or whatever it is called, and then you're using it. How does that work?
Well, so in preparation for the shoot, I usually ask for some kind of reference material so that I know what the character should look like in the end. For example, I did Marvel's Avengers, the game, and the Crystal Dynamics game. I believe it came out like 2020 or so. I did Hulk, Thor and part of Captain America, the gameplay capture. When I did Hulk, when we went in, when I went in there to do it, the guy started out saying, okay, first we're gonna do his punch, right? And I said, well, hold on, can we just kind of go through what Hulk is supposed to look like? Like, is this Lou Ferrigno Hulk, or is it Edward Norton Hulk, or is it Avengers Hulk? Which one are we doing? And we had this long discussion. We actually spent like 2 hours watching Hulk videos that he liked, and that would seem like a waste of time. But in the end, I could get the first take correct for most of the day. So we actually made our day very easily. So knowing kind of the character that the animator wants, how the animator wants it to look like, that will set you up for success as a motion capture performer. So that kind of preparation is like fundamental. Um, so in terms of on-set preparation, you have to make sure that, if there's an environmental interaction, that environmental piece has to be set up so that it maps according to the game world, right? Like if you're opening up a chest and the chest is knee height, well, if you have a block that's navel height, it's not going to look properly. So then some poor animator is going to have to spend 3 days fixing that. So you might as well just get a smaller box and just do it properly, right? The prop, like you mentioned, the axe that we used, I remember it. I should have it with me right now, but it's a Nerf axe. It's this very special kind of Nerf axe that they released for like 1 year in 2011. Um, and they're super strong and they never break down. And we use that axe constantly for God of War, and it's like a very flat axe, so it cuts through the air really quickly. Sometimes the axe that I like to use is actually a mace, same company, but it has different aerodynamics, right? It doesn't cut through the air as quickly, so there's a little bit more drag, so that if I swing really hard, it doesn't throw me off balance. Sometimes I'll use that. For God of War Ragnarok, to the spear, spoiler alert, they wanted me to try out different kinds of sticks that had different reverberations, right? So there's a PVC pipe, which when you hit a pose with a PVC pipe, it'll bounce a little bit. It has this little bit of reverb. With a wooden dowel, it was like a little bit less, right? But then we also had a carbon fiber one where you hit it and it just sticks. There's no reverb. And so with motion capture, the main thing that you're trying to do is set up the environment around the performer so that the performer's body responds the right way. It doesn't really matter what it looks like. Uh, the weapon can be a stick. It doesn't really matter as long as you have the markers on it. As long as it makes your body do the right thing, then that's the right weapon to use.
But there must be some limitations, right? Or is it like a playground where everything has cameras and they're capturing you from every angles? There must be some restrictions because for MoCap, for performance capture, you have a camera right in front of your face. But I'm assuming for game cap, it's not.
Correct. Yeah, that would be a disaster. So anytime you have that face cam, when you can't fall down, and the reason, well, for first of all, for safety, you also the camera's out here with those usually, and so if you're gonna do a fight scene, you can't get close to somebody. You're gonna knock that camera, and it's a safety issue, but it's also the data is not going to be good. So if you move that camera around too much, your face capture isn't very good. So we don't really use that during gameplay capture. Um, there are limitations to the motion capture depending on what kind of system you use. There are two main kinds of motion capture systems. The first one is called passive or optical, which is the one where you wear the Velcro suit and it's got the balls on it, right? And that's the one with, between 30 and 100 cameras around the room. It's super expensive, super high fidelity, and you can't and you're not supposed to block any of the markers, right? So the advantage is super high fidelity. The downside is that if I want to put a pad on my elbow, I can't do it. I actually have to put the pad under my elbow, which is going to move the markers around. So I'm going to have to re-ROM, right? It's going to waste everybody's time. If I'm on the ground and if somebody's grappling with me, or if I grab and I throw somebody, all the markers that get blocked during the throw, somebody has to go in and like add those back in. Now, AI handles some of that, but it can only do so much. And so somebody has to go and fix all that. That's called occlusion when you block the markers. The other system, which is the one that we use, is called inertial. That's the one we have at the studio here. Inertial is wireless, and cameras don't see it. So you don't have a camera array. It's all transmitted wirelessly. The system we use is Exens, made by Movella. And the downside of that is it's not as many bones on the body. Like there aren't as many like um, cervical markers, for example, right? Like, and there's not as much movement with the shoulders. But I can put an elbow pad on. I can put a fat suit on. I could put a fake tail on if I'm doing an animal. I can do all this extra stuff. I can grapple. I can have someone smash a pad onto me, and the data will look exactly the same. It won't matter. So it's actually great for action. And I can see why, they tend to use optical for PCAP, but I think when it comes to action mocap, like there's no better way to do it than inertial. There's just so many ways that you can kind of make performances better by, adding all the extra stuff on your body. Sometimes, for example, like if you need to be an astronaut in the game, well, you might want to add the bulk on, right? Like you could put a bulk, it doesn't have to be the same weight, but if you have like a puffy kind of fat suit, it kind of makes you move around like an astronaut. You don't have to fake that stuff. And when you fake it, it just looks like you're faking it. And so as much that we can do on our side to make the performance look like it's really there on that character, we try and do all that. And we find that inertial is like the best way to do that.
Hmm. However, it must be much more freeing when you're doing mocap rather than the live action one, don't you think? Because you have a lot of freedom more than because you don't have to, well, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have to worry about the costume. Sometimes you don't even worry about the camera angle or being in the shot and all that stuff. It must be much more, it must be like a playground, right?
Yeah, it's in a way like it's very kind of quick getting things up and going. I mean, when somebody says, I want to motion capture an action scene in a jungle, how long is that going to take? And it's like it's the same amount of time as if it was at the pyramids of Giza, as if it was on an alien planet. It doesn't matter, right? Like it just depends on what the shot is. And we can kind of build any environment that we want with a few small tools over here, right? So if you want to build a climbing wall, if you want to build a 100-mile road, all that's really easy. Just need a treadmill. I just need something where I'm just slipping. I can climb on the floor and turn it 90 degrees. There's a million ways to do this. So yeah, in a way, it is a big sandbox. Um, at the same time, you have to be mentally very creative to be able to perform in that kind of space because you just have a white wall around you. You, so you as a performer, you have to ask all the right questions, right? Like, what is this location? Am I in mud? Um, what is this character wearing? Is it heavy? Is the weapon heavy? Are they slow? What kind of, because you don't have any of that stuff on you. You're just standing there in a black suit. You're kind of butt naked. So you got to ask the right questions. And then that's really the skill set with motion captures, asking the right questions, getting that character and telling that 2 second story the right way.
Hmm. Okay, so you have to be really imaginative when it comes to like those things because you have to imagine, oh, you're walking in an alien planet. Do you do walking scenes too, just walking?
Oh yeah, well, navigation. So I did Demon Souls when they re-released it for PlayStation 5. And we would do these things called dance cards, which was this really complicated kind of movement set so that you could do every transition from any direction. From 45 to 90 to 135 to 180, both feet, three speeds, 24 different weapon styles. It took forever. And I definitely like learned how to walk and run after that.
Okay, that's an interesting
But it's its
statement.
own art. So I mean, if you like it's interesting to try this, right? Like it's interesting when you watch somebody who's new to mocap, who, by the way, you could bring an actor in who's done acting, right? But if you put them in that suit and you say, okay, now walk like a gangster, they don't know their left foot from their right foot anymore a lot of the time. Because they're like they don't know what that looks like. They're trying to see it and they get all stiff. So it even just walking, even just standing there can be really hard because it's a completely different frame of reference. You really have to like think that you're the character and really because you have none of the proof on you that you're that character. I mean, I guess you could wear the outfit if you wanted, that might help, but we just don't have the luxury of like bringing all the different wardrobes for every character. I mean, there's some days where we do 15 characters in one day. You know, for God of War Ragnarok, we were doing like 6 characters a day sometimes. You know, probably did every character in that game at some point at the studio, you know, and so I'd have to switch between the two. So yeah, you really have to uh, be there mentally.
What game are you making and all that. Sometimes the animator don't know themselves and how much you have the say in it. Like, okay, I don't think this will look good, or do you ha even have a say? Because sometimes the companies can be really rigid of what they want, as you said, if for God of War.
Yeah, it depends. And you know, with God of War, you know, it's more than just knowing what they want. It's what the audience expects now, right? So the audience has at least it's like 15 years of experience with Kratos now. We're going on 20 years. They know what this character looks like and how he moves around. There's some expectations there that you have to deliver. And of course, the animators have like a new take on it, but you're gonna have to find that with them. And I found that, you know, with the God of War team, they really knew what they wanted. And I don't find that to be creatively restricting. I actually find that very liberating sometimes because now, you know, when you give a canvas this big, sometimes that's a more creative process. You know, whereas if they say, I don't know, what do you think? You're kind of like, I have nothing. You actually don't really even know what paintbrush to start with, right? So sometimes when, you know, an animator knows exactly what they want, that can be very liberating. Sometimes though, like if an animator who is not as experienced with directing, but might be a gifted animator, they might not know how to get a performer to do what they want. And they'll use like they'll get very you could say almost like puppeteer like, and they'll say, well, I really want the punch to be like this, but when you do it, can you lean this shoulder forward and your head up that way, and this foot should be over there? And then they twist you into a knot and they expect you to perform the move properly, and that doesn't work. So, and I find that, you know, sometimes very well-meaning animators who are just starting with directing MoCap, they don't know how to direct. So I'll do like a little bit of consultation with them and just say like, look, this is what really works, at least on our stage. When you want these certain things, like one of the things I tell new animators is, don't tell me what you don't want, tell me what you do want, right? And so if we do it wrong, try not to think about what was wrong, try to think about where you want it to go, right? Don't say you went here, say try going there. And that is always more creative. And it seems to open up the discussion and it gets them thinking more about what they want rather than what I did. Because what I did is irrelevant. It's really what's in your mind. And I'm trying to bring that out as a performer.
Hmm. And is it something like you how much secretive these people are sometimes?
Well, when you're working on a game, you've been NDA'd. So you're not going to talk about the game. You're not going to post about it on social media. So they're pretty candid. They'll tell you everything you want to know. I tend to dig pretty deep. I tend to ask everything. I mean, I'll ask questions about like the broad scope of the game system, the combat system. I'll ask questions. I mean, so some questions that can be very difficult for them to answer. For example, I worked on one game that never came out, but they wanted us to prototype a few characters, and they were having kind of a hard time figuring out what these characters looked like. And I asked a simple question, which was like, okay, which one of the three is most powerful? And they couldn't really answer the question,
Oh.
right? And it's like, well, you take Golden Axe, you take Streets of Rage, you take Virtua Fighter, you look at any character and it's pretty obvious what their strengths and weaknesses are. And as a performer, I have to know that stuff, right? And so that's also part of the consultation. And yeah, I find that um, some games really can fail because they don't like characterizing characters, if that makes sense, right? They're
Hmm.
kind of reluctant to say this character is strong, this character is fast, this character is smart. They're reluctant to do that because maybe they have a character in there who's like everything, and they haven't really thought through this, right? And I've seen games fail at the design level because they just couldn't figure out what was what. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah.
that's like a very common, kind of like, interview process that we go through.
Okay. How much does it pay?
MoCap
Yes.
pays okay, but the thing is, I mean, it pays, like SAG, so the Screen Actors Guild, minimum daily, I think is for big games is like $1,000 a day or a little bit more than that.
Oh, wow.
Now, from what I understand, they don't pay residuals, so motion capture performers tend to charge more. Also, motion capture work is totally irregular, right? So you compare, for example, a Netflix show where you might be making the same, well, you're not going to make that. Well, let's say you're working on Avatar, right? So you're making $1,000 a day and you're doing it for how many months? 8 months? I mean, it's a chunk of money. So stunt performers tend to move toward that, right? They're smart. I didn't do that. I decided
Okay.
that I really wanted to do mocap because, like, honestly, it's a little bit on the seasonal side, and seasonal not like winter and spring, but seasonal is in the game development process. And games do have these kind of waves, but they're like 5 year waves. So when if you want to get into motion capture, just know, first of all, it's extremely competitive. There are a ton of people who want to do mocap who are doing none right now because there just aren't enough jobs. There aren't enough positions to do mocap. On a film shoot, if you're doing a battle scene with 100 people, you need 100 people, right? Or maybe you
Hmm.
need 20, something. There's no mocap shoot in the world that's going to do that. At most, they're going to bring in like 6 people, right? And they're going to get it done in like 2 days. A movie battle scene is going to take 3 weeks.
Okay.
So it's very different, very different. And so, yes, the pay can be good, but if you don't have a way to go from one job to another, it can be very difficult to network. I mean, networking in the games world is way different than networking in the movie world. Um,
Like what?
well, we have where do the game developers like who even hires you,
No,
right?
yeah. Yeah,
Right? It's
that's
a
right.
hard question, right? Like
Yeah.
you of course you could go to an agency and who claims to have connections with the games world, and I've got one of those, and I haven't gotten a single job through that agency, never, not a single one. The only way I get jobs is by connecting with animators and making strong relationships with them and giving them what they want, and helping them achieve their vision. And really, I'm trying to make their lives easier. So getting into the business is like one thing. Maintaining it is like very, very much predicated on your ability to form a relationship with the director. Because in the games world, directors and animators move from game to game all the time. Like within 5 years, somebody might move to 3 different games, right? And if they're recommending you to come in and do mocap on that game, then you're on 3 different games, right?
Mhm.
So even if they leave, you might still get, you're kind of grandfathered into that game now. So even though, a lot of the animators on the original God of War game, um, some of them weren't on God of War Ragnarok, I was still working on God of War Ragnarok, right?
Mhm.
So same with, Mortal Kombat. I worked on Mortal Kombat 11. The stunt coordinator for that left, but I still got on to Mortal Kombat 1 and we did the cinematics for that because I kept a relationship with him and I also kept a relationship with the director. Um,
Mhm.
and it's you have to have like real I would say integrity where you're not BSing these directors and they're going to see it, like if you can't give good movement and if you're not creative with them and if you're not able to take feedback, if you're a pain to work with, like there are too many people out there to stick with you. Why would they stick with you? They really want someone um who's going to kind of bring that vision to life.
Okay, I hate to say this, but what do you mean by pain to be? Like, again, you can say that, okay, for example, I cannot do backflips, for example, and I can be honest with them, and they will get someone who can do backflips. And someone who doesn't talk back, I'm assuming, and what else?
Yeah, somebody who doesn't talk back. And now I find that one of the big things is like establishing proper boundaries. It's actually very good. Um, One of the things that I say to directors is like I can do punches and kicks all day for you, but when it comes to getting punched in the face, like like in your game, if there's an NPC and you punch the NPC in the face, they go oh like that, right?
Hmm.
Okay, well that's actually kind of hard on your neck to do that, and I tell them like I'm not doing that very much. I'm gonna do it a couple times and then that's it. We don't need to do many of these. But I'll do this other thing all day. But and I'll also say like I can't do this movement, but I can do this. Would that help you? Would that be enough? Right? Like if you can't backflip, is it enough to just jump up in the air and fall on a pad and they can just add the rest? And then, or maybe you jump up in the air, fall on a pad, and then you jump up in the air and land on your feet. Can you stitch that together and make a backflip? And sometimes the answer is like, oh yeah, we just want the character landing. We just want the landing to look cool, right? It's things like that. And so the more you know the process and the more you kind of understand their process, because every animator has their own process, the more you can kind of work with them, be like, let me get you all the pieces that you need so that you can do something, so that you can get your job done, so that it's not going to take you weeks and weeks and weeks, so that you're not going into crunch time because of my mess up. And maybe we can do something really cool that like elevates this thing so that it looks really good when you show it at the next meeting or whatever, right? And people are like, "Man, that movement that you did there was super cool. How'd you do that?" And like, "Wow, the actor and I came up with it." So
Hmm.
those things really count for a lot. And the thing is, like, as a performer, you're completely blind to that stuff. You probably won't get feedback. You
Oh,
probably won't hear these things. You'll hear it only in the sense that you get hired again. And if you can remember what you did, you ask the animator, like, hey, by the way, how'd that thing go? And they'll go, oh man, that killed. That was the best thing. Like, that's the thing that they love. That's why we push that character through, things like that. Um,
oh.
so
So how much you work with the actors? Because I'm forgetting his name, but his voice is the most masculine voice you will ever
right.
hear.
Chris Judge, right?
Oh yes, Chris
Yeah,
Judge. Oh my
yeah.
God. Have you worked with him?
I've never met him in my life.
Oh my God.
Never
So
met
you
him.
so the performance capture and game capture, they're like completely two different things. They
Totally
never
different things,
interact.
different directors, different locations a lot of the time. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah.
so Chris Judge will do his whole, excuse me. Chris Judge will do his whole kind of dialogue scene and then we'll just shoot the entire thing again so that he doesn't have to throw actual punches, he doesn't have to fall on the ground. And I'll kind of like following his footsteps. It's almost like a ghost mode in Mario Kart. And sometimes they'll even show his performance or they'll play the audio that they recorded and I'll like lip sync the whole thing and I'll do the physical performance and they'll kind of like put those pieces together wherever they need to.
Hmm.
But
And
I've never met him. That's what's
oh
amazing.
no.
They keep us
Yeah.
separated.
Yeah, no, they don't like two legends together. You know what I mean? Like the awesomeness will kill the screen.
Ah, it's all right.
Okay. Um, but what so how long these games you get daily work or is it like a 10-hour shift and what's the schedule like?
Well, it jumps around. Depends on the game. Some games they wait until the very end to do all the mocap and you might do 2 or 3 weeks of solid mocap. On God of War Ragnarok, we did, I don't know, handful of days every month for 3 years,
Oh wow.
you know. Um, Ghost of Yotei, it was all very kind of like compacted in the kind of the middle of production. So they had done all the prototyping. Then we shot all the mocap and then didn't hear from them again. We did that game a long time ago. Um,
Okay.
And so it really depends. Games now take between, AAA, the big games take between 3 and 6 years to make. So, and it always changes. There's always, there are always variables there.
Hmm. Like for example, like it can be a 3 year long constant work and sometimes it's going to be done in like 3 weeks.
Well, it's never going to be constant mocap work.
Okay.
It's never going to be constant. There's just there's not um, there just isn't the need to get that much mocap in a game. So I mean, if you do between 60 and 100 shots in a day, you're gonna get it all within a couple months. So if you spread that out over 5 years, yeah, it's irregular work, which is again why, in terms of a stunt career, it's hard. You have to have a lot of these kind of going at the same time, or you're doing stunts on the side. But that I always have this very candid conversation with animators, which is if they want a female mocap performer for a female character, it's like, okay, you are competing with Disney, you're competing with Hollywood because a lot of them are working. And so for us to pull the female talent in for like 2 days of mocap for kind of the same rate, it's much harder work. It's like very physically demanding. When you're doing, like, for example, if you're doing a combat system, it's very demanding physically. Um, and maybe it's worth it to them, maybe it's not, but that's just always something that, you're naturally going to have people kind of, again, like I said, gravitating towards Hollywood and not really wanting to do mocap so much.
Hmm. Is that a real issue right now that you don't have a lot of people and there's only certain type of people, only few selected few are doing this?
Like the business overall right now is really slow. This was a big problem in like 2022. 2022, um, 2022 was a very busy year. And so we were finishing up Ragnarok. We were working on a whole bunch of games. Like some of them haven't even come out yet. Um, and sometimes it was a struggle to get talent in because things were cooking, especially like right after COVID. Like everything just like started getting going real quick, real quick, real quick. And then 2024 it kind of tanked again. And ever since then, everything's kind of like trying to level out. Um, Overall, things are kind of slow, so it's not really as much of an issue as it used to be. Um, that said, I have like a handful of people I really like working with who are just able to kind of like we have a common language. And when you do mocap for a long time, like one of the people I work with regularly is like Tekla Hutarova, and she's just a fantastic stunt woman, but she really gets mocap. And we just have a shorthand where I'll just say like, okay, because I'll coordinate these shoots a lot of the time for her, and I'll say, okay, Antic is kind of slow on this one. Make sure you do a pre-step for the hit. The hit's got to be vertical, and then when you recover, kind of slip out, do a little bit of a dragon's tail, and go back to idle. Like I'll just say that, and she'll get it, and that's like a shorthand that we have that would take maybe 30 minutes to get with a new person.
Okay, because I
So
didn't get any of that.
yeah, 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 which is fine. You work on mocap with me long enough, you'll get it.
Okay.
But it's just a shorthand that allows you to kind of break down movements into these small pieces so that you can move your body in a very unique way that the animator will want. Um, and but then also sometimes we have specialists come in, like a contortionist, for example, will come in. Um,
What's a
every now and
contortionist?
somebody who's very flexible,
Okay.
who can bend backwards and put their head between their legs, things like that. Sometimes people need a person who's really good on stilts, maybe on their feet or on their hands. And so we've got a handful of people who we go to for things like that too. The studio's in Las Vegas, our studio, and there's a lot of just freakish talent here. Like some of the best in the world is right here because of all the live shows. And we've just met some of the greatest performers out here. Phil Kismartoni, Stevie Irwin, these guys I just work with regularly now because like they're local and they really know their stuff. And they're just as good as like Hollywood mocap performers. But every now and then I need also like a really good generalist to bring, and I bring him in from LA who's like a really good fight guy, for example. Would do that all the time on Mortal Kombat. We do Mortal Kombat 1. Um,
Okay. So you're saying that the market has been getting a little bit saturated now, right? And since you and I'm assuming there's a okay, how much is the competition there? How much are you competing with people?
Uh, well, we had the benefit of having a company, and that was we started Super Alloy because that's just like a that's just a better way to integrate with other companies, other game companies. If you have a production company, you can integrate with other studios more easily. And it kind of insulates you from, you know, lawsuits and those things. And also there's like we have a pretty good like data system so that, you know, if we have proprietary information, we have a whole, you know, security system here in a server so that it's not going to like end up on somebody's phone at a bar. And then, oh, now everybody knows the next big game coming out from Activision or something. You know, if that gets traced back to you, you're done.
Hmm.
They'll shut you down, man. And it's
Yeah.
really so it's much easier as a company to do that stuff because you are working with companies. And fortunately, I it's my business partner who mostly handles that. He knows how to talk to them. I talk the creative stuff. I'm kind of the mad scientist. I just kind of wait in the wings until the creative stuff starts. Um, so I would say that in terms of, you know, number of studios out there, I mean, there are a handful of third-party mocap stages out there, not a whole lot. Um, a lot of game companies now are just doing mocap in, you know, in-house. They have their own stages and they sort of just cast however they want. A lot of the time they just cast themselves. They just cast their own animators because the animators know exactly what they need. If you have a martial artist animator, you have like a Swiss Army knife of an employee. Like, why
Hmm.
would you even hire a stunt performer at that point, right? A lot of the time they don't. They just do it themselves. Why? Why would you bother? Um, as long as that, you know, conforms the union rules, right?
Hmm.
And so our edge is that we specialize in action design. And when I say action design, I mean movement design. Like everything to me is action. Like standing there and looking tough is action design,
Yeah.
right? It's like, well, what kind of tough guy do you want? Do you want like a new Yakuza or do you want an old kind of like grizzled Italian mobster? Like what kind of gangster are we talking about? And I
Hmm.
try and bring that level of character development to whatever we do. And that's why I read.
Hmm.
I read a lot. I read a lot about crime, anthropology, history,
Hmm.
war. I read all that stuff so that when somebody says, "Yeah, I want to do a Japanese sword game," I was like, "Okay, cool. Is this like Tokugawa era or is this like post-Meiji Restoration?" And they go, let me put you in charge with somebody higher up." And it's like, "Cool, we got it." Right?
Oh, that's so nice. I think that's out of all people, I've heard this same thing from Chuck Lorre, the guy who made the guy who made no Chuck Lorre, yeah Chuck Lorre, I guess, who made Looney Tunes.
Oh my
He
gosh.
said he
Yeah.
said something along the lines of if you want inspiration, he was talking about animation. You
Right.
need two things. First, you have to challenge yourself. And the second thing is that read as much
Chuck
as you can.
Jones. Chuck
Oh,
Jones,
Chuck
right?
Jones,
Yeah.
not Lori. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah,
sorry.
read. Yeah, read. Werner Herzog says the same thing. Read.
Yes, and it's fun. It's Chuck Jones is amazing, honestly. Okay. So apart from all of that, you said you do research on yourself and everything. Apart from the mocap, and we talked a lot about mocap already. What about your personal goals? How much are you working on the live action side of things, apart from the motion pictures you did before?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny you should ask. So I just finished wrapping a pilot for a TV series called right now it's tentatively called They Still Live, and the episode is called Bag Lady. And I really wanted to do a kind of homage to They Live,
Hmm.
which is a John Carpenter movie where the protagonist finds a pair of sunglasses that allows him to identify who the aliens are, right? But it's not
Hmm.
about aliens, it's about androids instead. So we're kind of like making commentary on AI and robots, but it's also a comedy because it stars a bunch of bums. And it's like, of all the people, these bums are the ones who are like best suited for dealing with the AI invasion, right? And it was really, I really didn't do a whole lot of live action over the past 6 years. Really, the last big live action thing I did was an Indian movie called Man Who Feels No Pain. And I did that with the close friend of mine, Dennis Rule. He and I we're a two-man team. We went over to India and to Mumbai. We stayed there for 2 months and we just like built an army up around us and we just made the best thing that we could possibly make. And since then it was like mocap, 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 mocap. We didn't really do any live action. And we were talking, Dennis and I were talking a lot about doing live action for a long time because he and I did Contour together. We did Rope-a-Dope together. We did all these movies together. um, Finally did a movie a year ago called Don't Forget the Oatmeal, which is premiering January 13th, I think, in Montreal. And so we were able to do something then, and we were gearing up to do a sequel to Contour. And then tragically, he died this year in April, and no idea how it happened. Died in his sleep, and it just like shook everybody. Everybody, because he's a young guy, he's healthier than me, one of the best performers in the world, just died. And and so we all kind of like had a major hangover from that. And then we came out of it like this summer, I think, and all of us from that whole, stunt people indie action scene, we started just calling each other, going like, let's stop waiting. Let's just start making stuff. Who cares? Who cares who's in it? Who cares if it makes money? Who cares if we have money? Like, where are you? Let's meet. So over the past 3 months or so, I've done like 5 short films over the past, few months, and they're on my YouTube channel. A lot of them are youtube.com/Eric Jacobus official. And and I really kind of like rediscovered my love for that. Um, because I think I enjoy acting more now. So combining the physicality with the acting has just really been much more rewarding than just making fight videos, right? Because now we're telling stories. We can tell stories in a better way now, I think.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
uh and so I'm hoping that 2026 I just jump right into keep on doing more live action. Any chance I get, I'm gonna do live action. I love it. I've really
Yes.
like refound my passion for that. And I'm older now, so I kind of understand how to produce these things. I produced The Bag Lady. I could produce a feature film again if I have to. And I want to make comedy, man. Like nobody's making comedy right now, action comedy. Nobody's doing it. And I'm really
Yeah.
passionate about making action comedy right now.
I have a script for you if you want. But that's not the point.
Right on.
But yeah, I wrote it in like, but I wrote it when I was like way young, like when I was like 21 or something, and I have to revisit that and make it much more refined, if I may. But that's not the issue. But how much you said it earlier, you mentioned touched upon it a little bit. How much your mocap will has affected you when you produce Bag
Uh,
Lady.
yeah. So, so certain things just don't transfer between mocap and movies, right? Like camera design, like or camera work, editing. These things you don't really think about in mocap. In movies, it's like everything. Because it's like there are really just four elements of production when it comes to action. There's performance, choreography, camera, and editing. And all of it kind of has to work together. And if any of them is deficient, you can like make up for these things in like all the other departments. Right. So, I mean, if you're not able to perform a certain fall, then change the choreography of the camera, the edit. If you can't shoot it a certain way, then change the edit or the choreography or the performance. Right. So you're kind of like building the whole kind of action picture using all four of these elements at the same time, which to me is like a very kind of rewarding mental experience. Um, and I'll design action scenes kind of in my head before we even show up, and I'll have a shot list. And a lot of that just comes from like making these films in the past. But the thing I took from mocap is 2 second storytelling. That's what I
Okay.
took from mocap is 2 second storytelling and directing. I've learned over the past 10 years how to direct people because of these animators who have directed me. And the way that they have helped me perform a movement in the way that I need to perform it, rather than puppeteering me and like helping me find the character and find the move. I just do that now with the people I'm working with. I'm in Bag Lady, but I'm working with guys who, some of these guys are like never really done like lead role acting before, and they did an amazing job. And I think it was because we have a very kind of relaxed kind of style of filmmaking. We don't rush. I'm not pressuring people to get things done quickly. Like we'll find the time, it's very relaxed and it's very funny. We try and just be funny. And so but like in terms of, like directing and also my own performance, I love acting now. And I think that doing 2 second storytelling with MoCap has sort of taught me how to like milk every second of a shot, not going overboard, but like everything has motivation now. Like when I pick up a jacket, like I used to just pick it up, but like now I just have this entire like library of reasons as to why I would pick up a jacket on camera. And I'll kind of go through, I'll pick that one. Yeah, cool. I'll have like the thing that I do and it'll look interesting now, you know? So to me, motion capture really taught me those two things, is how to
Mm-hmm.
direct and how to give character to every moment.
What projects are you working on right now in terms of live action?
Well, the Bag Lady short is we're gonna premiere well, we're not quite sure what we're gonna do with that right now. Because I want to turn that into a series. Um, there are a few other things kind of cooking with a few other filmmakers, but it's all like kind of too early to talk about. Um, and I have my own kind of features on the side. Like I really want to make a spoof of John Wick,
Mm.
and I
Oh,
think I
really?
I think I could do that pretty easily.
Mm.
And so and then I want to make a sequel to Contour. I wrote a treatment. It co-starred Dennis, and he's not with us anymore. So
Yeah.
I want to rewrite. It's called Detour. I want to rewrite it
Mm.
and shoot that too.
Yeah. May he rest in peace. I never met him, but uh, may he rest in peace.
Yeah,
And I would dedicate this video to him because his name
right
was
on,
mentioned.
right on. Thank you.
Yes. Uh, what else I was about to say? Oh, okay. So have you seen the Nerf John Wick?
Yeah,
They have Nerf gun, the
yeah, that was
cargo
fun.
crew made it.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, so you're
They're
thinking of
fun.
something like that or just like,
It would be yeah, that's like a different kind of humor, which is it's great. It's hilarious. But the kind of humor that I'm really interested in bringing back the spoof, like the pure spoof, like the Naked Gun spoof.
oh,
Nobody's really doing it, and I don't know why. And I have a feeling it's just this is going to sound crass, but I think filmmakers don't have the balls to do it. I think that filmmakers are afraid that the audience won't get it, that they'll be like ruining the cinematic experience for the audience. That might be true, but I'm definitely willing to test that I'm willing to put my money on the line and say that's not true. I think the audience is absolutely ready to just make fun of the stuff that's out there. And then making fun of John Wick doesn't mean I don't like John Wick. I love John Wick. That's why I'm going to make fun of it, right? Like that's why
uh,
Weird Al made fun of great songs. Those are great songs, right?
yeah.
Nobody was saying that like, you don't respect those songs, right? But like, who's doing that now? And interestingly, Corridor is like one of the few groups that does that stuff. So I commend them for doing that. Were they the ones that did Steven Seagal in a chair also?
I
There's
don't remember.
whoever did that was a genius, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I want to do it on a feature film scale and make a theatrical experience and
Yes.
see where it goes.
It's funny enough. I think there's a fine line between spoof and satire. And when you're making a satire, that means you don't want them to do that. When you do a spoof, you said you love it, but you want to see something different. That's my point of view.
Huh.
But
I think that with a satire, I think Mel Brooks is a little bit more satire maybe, but the Naked Gun films are spoofs because you're with a spoof, you're not just making fun of the content. It's like you're almost making fun of the form itself,
yes.
right? So, for example, if you have a satire in the Continental Hotel and John Wick goes up to the front desk. And the satire would be where John Wick, he says like, "Give me my normal room." And the guy's like, "Well, which room is that?" The normal one. Like John, we don't know
Mhm.
whichever. They'll have like this like debate, this banter back and forth. Will be very like sitcom like. But a spoof would be that everybody in that world 100% believes they're in that world, right? And it's like John goes up, he says, "I'll take my normal room." He's like, "Yes, sir." And he gives him like the broom closet or whatever, right? and everybody just believes it. And nobody cocks an eyebrow. And I want
Hmm.
to like play with that world where it's almost religious, right?
Yes.
It's like the John Wick world is church, right? And we're going to church, but we're gonna pull the priest's pants down and see what happens. Where everybody believes in the world, in the cinematic universe, right? And
Yeah.
nobody's cocking an eyebrow. And it's so rewarding for the audience, I think, because the audience knows that it's such a goof. Like, who could believe in this stuff? Like, it should be so close that if somebody weren't paying attention, they would think it's just another John Wick movie. That would be
Yes.
the goal, right?
Yes. I think the best spoofs. I love Naked Gun, by the way. Leslie Nielsen
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
I wish he rest in peace, but yeah. Thank you for that. And have you seen his other work? Have you seen Police Squad?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I just started watching that again. It's so good.
Yeah, it's just like 6 episodes, but it's
It's just
way.
it's genius. Every frame of that show
Yes, and also
killing me. Yeah.
have you seen superhero movie?
I never saw that one.
Oh, it's a spoof. I think it's free on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So you should watch it.
Is that one good?
Yeah,
All right.
it's a
I'll add
spoof on
that one.
Spider-Man and others. So
Oh,
there's
okay.
that.
All right, I'll add that one.
And there's this one, they're making Scary Movie, obviously, the Scary Movie 6.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's that. And the Naked Gun. Have you seen the new Naked Gun?
Yeah, I hated it.
Really?
I hated it. Yeah, it wasn't a spoof. They
Mm.
just didn't go for it. They lost it at certain points. There's too many people who are aware of the world they're in. It's more
Oh,
satire, but there are too
oh.
many people who are like, it's just not it's not churchy enough for me, if that makes
Okay.
sense. It's like it's just too many easy gags that they missed out on. Like the part where the crane is picking up the car.
I haven't seen the whole
Okay, well,
movie
there's
yet.
a part where like there's a car, there's like a victim's car is in water or something. A crane operator is trying to pick up this car and he drops it. And it's like, okay, that's funny. And people are going, oh, ah, right. Okay, that's funny.
Mm.
But like a spoof would have had it been like a coin operated claw game where everybody's trying. So there you
Oh,
go. Like the
yes.
simplest joke in the world that everybody could relate to and they didn't go there, right?
Okay,
It's
yes.
just like simple things like that. So that's why I just was like, you could have done so much better with this.
Oh yeah, that's really funny, man. That's really funny. Okay. That's really cool. And
I would say like I'm always comparing like Mel Brooks to Zaz, the Zucker Abrahams
hmm,
Zucker. They're the ones that did the Naked Gun and Hot Shots. Brooks is much more like people acting funny in a world,
hmm,
whereas the Zaz style satire, excuse me, the Zaz style, yeah, the parody would be full commitment from
hmm,
everybody. And
yes.
uh and like that's just I don't know, it's like I think it's a fun puzzle. It's kind of like making a I mean to me it's like it's as challenging as making a Jackie Chan style action film, right? It's what we tried to do with Rope-a-Dope, where it's like let's make a silent Jackie Chan style action film and see if we can do it and
Yeah.
just like stick to the rule. And we did it, and like that can be a really fun exercise. And I think, doing a Zaz style parody would be just as rewarding and still pull off like a fun action film, right?
Yes. But Jackie Chan is he's a legend and he's a genre is in his own. You know more than me.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of hitting three things at once, right? Like he's hitting action, comedy, which you could, Hardcore Henry is an action comedy. Um, but there's something about Jackie that's a little bit different because he uses a tripod. He's like butt naked in his shots. Not literally, but like he is so vulnerable in his shots and his framing. And to be able to actually like move like that is so rare. There is one guy, there are a couple, but like one guy who did that really well too was Jean-Paul Belmondo, who's a French film star. And he did these amazing movies, which you would love, by the way. He did this movie called That Man from Rio. You should
Once
watch That Man from Rio.
one second, one second. Let me write it down real
Yeah.
quick. Uh, that man from Rio.
I
Okay.
promise you, you will be a changed man after this movie.
Okay.
It's kind of shocking nobody knows who this guy is. Like my mentor told me about it, and I'd never heard of him.
Mm.
Um, and he's got a whole bunch of movies like that where he's just like Jackie. He's
Oh,
running around long takes, fighting, action stunts. He's a stuntman, like crazy stuntman. Yeah. So there are a
mm,
few. There's a handful of, folks out there, but Jackie was the one that really kind of like perfected it, right?
yes, in every shape or form. What Jackie? Okay, what Jackie set piece that you love the most?
Oh man, that's like not a fair question, man. So hard. I
Give me
mean,
like five.
five, Dragon Lord finale, Police
Okay.
Story finale,
Oh wow.
the Drunken Master 2 finale,
Oh wow, that
the
was
cafe
awesome.
fight in Miracles, and then uh, I'm very biased towards just his like fisticuffs action. The tea house fight in Project A2.
Oh
But I could probably name five more, right? Like these are just like these are things of these are engineering projects. That's
yes.
the thing that when people say, I want to make a Jackie Chan style action film, you're
Mm,
like, okay, you have to be an engineer to do that.
mm,
Buster Keaton was the same way. He was basically an engineer. He designed his sets so that he could do his movies. If you're not an engineer, you can't make the gag. You just can't do it. If you don't know how to craft a gag and build it and then perform it and then edit it so that it still works in the end, then you have nothing. And
mm.
what people don't realize is that I think you kind of have to follow auteur theory to do that. Um, I know that like in Rope-a-Dope, for example, we would come up with a gag and it was like, okay, we've got this gag and we would kind of protect it and make sure that nothing happened to it, right? It had to be performed and shot and choreographed and edited the right way. It had to have the right music cue. It had to have the right sound on it. And then that thing would work. At any stage, you can destroy that thing and that gag will not work, right?
Mm.
You either have a bad joke or you have an injury or whatever it's going to be.
Mm.
And so that's why I think he's so special is that like these are just like extreme engineering works that have to be thought out in advance and carried through to perfection,
Mm.
And to do that, you have to think on a different level.
What about rhythm? Because Jackie was huge on rhythm in a fight scene.
Yeah, I mean, like I think that that's like further down Maslow's hierarchy for him personally. Like I think that mainly because he can bring anybody on to do rhythm. Anybody can go that 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 that. Everybody can do that. Um, and it's actually not the thing about I don't know why exactly he has like his very specific guys that he works with. Someone like
Mm.
Samo seemed like not so concerned about that. Samo seemed to work with anybody. He didn't care.
Yes.
In fact, the harder the guy hit, the better for Samo.
Yes.
He worked with everybody, but Jackie's kind of got his core crew. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what that is. Again, I think that the real kind of skill that he brings is just engineering gags with like a setup and a payoff, which is really hard to do, man. Like you try and set up an action comedy gag, it's so hard. It's like super
You
hard to
cannot
do,
end.
right? And you can like ruin it at any point.
Yes, absolutely. Like what? If you want to give some example, like a
Um,
rope-a-dope.
well, like the gag and rope-a-dope that um, let me try and set it. Let's give an example. Well, okay, in Man Who Feels No Pain,
Mm.
right? Like one of the gags that we really wanted to set up was the one-legged fighter, Karate Money. And we set him up so that he was dependent upon this crutch that he's on because he's got one leg. But then we reveal that when the crutch gets released, he turns into a Kyokushin guy and he just kind of charges forward, right?
Okay.
And that just requires like a lot of design from the beginning. I mean, another example is the female. played by Radhika,
Mm,
and she has this scarf around her neck, and and that scarf wasn't in the script. That scarf was born out of me and Dennis trying to figure out what to do with a 5'2" female in this movie because like there was nothing really like special about her that would lend itself to some kind of interesting movement. And we thought like, well, what if she has like a scarf and she uses that to tie guys up and she whips them in the face with it.
mm,
She can wrap it around her hand and hit guys with it, right? And then like when you have those elements and you bring those into the fight, like light bulbs just start going off for the audience. There's
mm,
also, like location gags in that movie that, we set these things up long in advance, like with this, like there's a gym. Um, uh, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head,
mm,
um, but these things like require kind of coordination from beginning to end in the production. Um,
mm,
it's really hard to come up with like a good action comedy gag on the fly. Definitely can't find it in the edit, right? It has to be done during production.
mm. And it's easy to ruin it because if it is not set up right, even
Yeah.
if the camera angle is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody could ruin it down the line by like cutting it wrong. Like Jackie's American films are good, but they don't have the punchy comedy that his Hong Kong films have. They just don't have it because American editors tended to kind of cut things differently, and we're cutting more for TV, right? I mean, he's editing gags differently. Or like putting a bad musical note on a gag to tell the audience, da da da, like here's a joke. And sometimes the
Yeah,
audience is just like, well, you didn't have to tell me that. You've lost the joke because you put a song over the joke. You didn't have to
yeah,
do that, right?
yeah.
You didn't have to put a sound effect over it. You didn't have to put a whistle when somebody
Yes.
fell. You didn't have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like you could have like just set it up and people will buy it, right? Like Takeshi Kitano knows that. He's like one of the masters of comedy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do anything. He just kind of shows the next frame and it's funny.
Yes. I think they did that in Naked Gun too. There's not a lot of sound effects. The effects were like
Right,
real, like for
right,
bingo when he pulls out the bingo card, Leslie Nielsen. There's like serious music. There's nothing like,
right,
you know
right.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
that would ruin it, right? Yeah.
And
So,
we don't talk about O.J. Simpson, but in the beginning, it starts as a serious
yeah,
break-in.
that's right.
It's funny. It's funny. It's funny that how seriously they take things for a funny movie. I
Yeah,
don't know what that means.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it just means that even the filmmakers themselves, it seems like the filmmakers themselves don't see the joke and the audience does, right? That's what you're trying
Yes.
to do. You're trying to tell the audience, like, I'm just a filmmaker. I'm just making this movie. You're the one who finds the jokes.
Yes.
That's what you're
Uh,
doing, right? And it's like the audience thinks that they're, above the filmmaker almost. So it's kind of like it's almost breaking the fourth wall in a way, right?
yes.
The audience feels very smart in a way.
Yes.
Like,
Uh,
oh, I'm seeing that normally the police officer, like this hilarious part in this great part in Police Squad where Leslie Nielsen's talking to this tall guy over here, and he leans down over his desk and he's like, "Hey, bring up some coffee," right? And you think he's talking into the intercom, but instead it cuts down and there's a little person down there who's like 3 feet tall. He's talking to you guys like, "Yes, sir," right?
Yes, yes. I
So
remember that one was good.
genius. Yeah.
Also about the taking the yeah, getting the information thing. Well, maybe this would jog your
Oh
memory. And the
yeah, and
guy,
they're trying to bribe each other. It's genius.
yes,
Genius.
and no one and everyone was taking it seriously. If we didn't show the back and forth of like money giving in the first few seconds, you'll feel like okay, yeah, and you put it in a clip somewhere, it will be like, yeah, this guy is actually trying to get information. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, 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 yeah. I hate to be conspiratorial about this, but I worry sometimes that distribution companies and producers and whatnot are afraid that the international audience won't get it. And I don't think that's true.
No.
I think maybe there are some, enclaves of people who will look at something like a police squad and they just won't get it. I think there's some people like that, but like overall, I think that I think producers are just not ballsy enough. I think they're not. I think they're afraid, but that's what they think. They think I mean, I've heard it firsthand.
Mm.
I heard it firsthand when I was, selling like Contour and Death Grip. I have sales agents going like, "Yeah, Germany doesn't really like comedy,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't think you're right about that. I think like you're talking to German sales agents who don't get comedy. But I think in general, everybody in Germany loves Chaplin. Everybody in Germany loves Jackie Chan because it's
Mm.
funny, not because he's throwing punches, because it's funny. And I think everybody would really, well, I think a good chunk of people would really like a good new spoof, especially on something like John Wick. So
Yes.
if anybody wants to finance this thing, I promise it won't cost much. We just need
Yeah.
a hotel.
Yes. Anyone who's listening, right? No, but I think the only thing that people won't get are puns because
Yeah,
different cultures have
sure.
different style of puns.
Yeah, that's why everything's got to be visual and like
Yes.
movement. It's like it's very easy to make fun of like a Bond film, for example,
Yes.
right? Like you get like an odd job and he
Mm.
puts his hat on. Austin Powers is a perfect example of this, right? Like
Yes.
everything is just physical, and that movie is internationally acclaimed, and
Yes.
everybody gets it, right? So, but I
Yeah.
think we just need to like have some balls and like not be afraid to make fun of stuff because it doesn't offend anybody.
Mm.
Um, like maybe some people it's a sacred cow to make fun of something like John Wick or whatever, but people thought that way about Life of Brian, right? They're like, oh,
Yeah.
you can't make Life of Brian, you're making fun of Jesus. And it's like,
Yeah.
that movie did very
Very
well,
well.
right? People love
Yeah.
that movie, and it
Yeah.
wasn't mean, right?
Yeah, it
So,
wasn't mean. Personally, from all the group, I forgot the group's name, but my favorite is Monty Python, though. I
yeah,
know it's generic, but it's
yeah, they're fantastic.
the knights who say knee
Yeah,
and the soldier, the Black Knight who just keeps getting his
yeah, it's
arms
genius.
disemboweled, and he
Yeah,
was like, "No, it's just
yeah,
but a scratch."
yeah, yeah,
That was good. But just to give your example, like everyone in the world knows Chaplin,
yeah,
and he didn't say a word,
yeah.
so
He,
everyone knows it.
yeah, he actually was a little bit self-conscious about that because he told Groucho Marx one time uh, that he envied Groucho because Groucho was funny with sound,
Okay. I
right?
didn't know that.
Yeah, and Groucho it kind of hit him hard, right? Because it's like here's this comedy master who like, yeah, Chaplin was not known for talkies, even though he did Great Dictator, right? That's a great talkie, but it's not really a talkie, right? It's like still a silent film at heart. Um, Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. But Keaton was the same. Like this,
Mhm.
when the talkies were like his downfall. Like he just couldn't make a good comedy with the talkies.
Mhm. And I think that's the point of everything. Like the most dialogue you say, I think it's easier to sell a silent comedy movie at this time than okay, one more thing I have to ask, I'm not sure how much it affects you, but the more stunt people I talk here, they usually say that there's not a lot of work in California and people are moving out of state to get that. Is this true for your case too?
Well, I'm not in California. I'm in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Um, but from what I understand, yeah, that's definitely happening. A lot of people moved to Atlanta years ago, and Atlanta apparently doesn't have much work either. I think a lot of work is moving into England, Australia. So people are trying to move to England and Australia, but here's the reality, and people don't like hearing this. I'm going to give a quick example. Up until recently, there was about 2 years where everybody was just ready for the moment when I think it was Warner Brothers was going to open up a studio in Vegas. They broken, everything was ready, and everybody was so certain, like they're going to do it, they're going to break ground, and there was all this preparation for when the studio would move here. And then like something happened in the legislature, and it didn't happen. And now, of course, there's all this like political haranguing, one side angry at the other, and everybody's trying to get it going again. And what I'm trying to tell people is this: if you stake your success on the studio system, it will leave you naked and homeless on the street overnight. People don't know that. I don't know why they think that they're going to have like loyalty from these big studios. Like Netflix is going to hunt you down and try and make sure you're working. No, they're not. They're going to find the cheapest state, city. They'll move to Monaco tomorrow if they want to. If that's what it takes, it's like five execs. They'll just go over there with their laptops and they'll just start the studio there. Like if they want to do an AI studio, they'll just do it there. So what I'm trying to tell people, and I'm writing a book right now called Badass on a Budget, and it's how to make a zero budget action film. What I'm saying is like try and decouple yourself from the studios as much as possible. Of course, like if you're a stunt performer who's dependent upon the studio, that's one thing. But if you're staking your hope and future and dreams on the studio system, they don't care about you. They just don't. And this is not a political statement. This is just facts because as a company, I know firsthand that as a company, it's very easy to close up shop and just move. It's very easy. You could do it overnight. Simple. And just like let liquidation deal with everything back at home. I'll just start a company in the next state over. If the numbers make sense, I'll just do that. If that's who I am, right? And if I just run a big box studio system, why wouldn't I do that? I'm trying to maximize profits for my shareholders. I actually have to do that. If I don't do that, I lose my job. So the fact is that even if there were a studio opening up in Vegas, if for some reason New Mexico suddenly, or like Arizona, suddenly provided a better tax incentive, they'll just do that.
Mm.
They'll just do that. So, and, when a studio moves into a city like Atlanta, all these mom and pop businesses start to come up and it's beautiful, right? Catering companies, wardrobe and seamstress, tailors, all these companies start coming up and it's beautiful, right? And then when the studio just disappears, then all these companies are out to dry and obviously they feel very betrayed because all the people that promised them years and years of work are now gone. They're in Monaco, they're in England, wherever, they're gone. And what do you have? You've got a huge company now. You're expecting to make $800,000 a year, and that's dropped to 20. You can't do that the way that they can because you're rooted and they're not. So you have to know this that big studios are not rooted. That's just not how they work. And I say this emphatically to everybody out there. They don't operate like this. They don't operate like you and me. So it's not that they're evil. It's that let's not stake our futures on them and let's hedge our bets on making indie stuff. I think the Renaissance is coming if it's not here already.
Mm.
Make indie stuff and buy my book, Badass on a Budget, which will come out soon.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Apart from that, and you should also have, in terms of finances, you should have a passive income too, if I'm not wrong.
Sometimes you need it. Sometimes, a lot of times some performers don't need that. It just depends. Yeah.
Yeah. And how much, it sounds, it sounds silly even asking this, but how much of your private life affects gets affected in this, and also how much your obviously your health is affected in because you're physical performing all day. Is it a 10-hour shift or a 12-hour shift?
About 10.
Oh, 10.
It's about
Okay.
10. Yeah, but it's not every day, right? Like I said,
Hmm.
it's not every day. A lot of my days are spent researching, doing sales, emails, writing, editing. Um, with Bag Lady, it's kind of interesting because like when I do MoCap, I don't know what it is, but like when I'm in that suit, I feel like way more vulnerable. It's like things hurt more. It's
Oh.
weird. Like if I bump my arm against the steel deck or something, I go, ow, ooh, right? I don't know what this is, but like when I'm doing mocap and I bump myself, like, ooh, ow, and I fall on the 8 inch, I'm like, ooh, ah, right? I don't know what it is. But then when I did Bag Lady, I was like, man, I'm gonna be able to do this. So we're just like wrecking on concrete and against trees and stuff. And it was like not painful. I think it's all here. I think a
Okay.
lot of it's up here. It had like
Okay.
no injuries on Bag Lady, and we wreck hard in that movie. And
Oh.
like nobody got injured. So a lot of injuries are mindset. A lot of injuries too are in training. People don't realize that. Like as a stunt performer, like you mostly get injured training, unless you have like a weird one-off thing with a piece of glass goes into your hand or something, right? But in general, like injuries come from training. And so don't train too hard.
Okay.
Stop working out like an athlete. I
Uh,
don't know why stunt performers do this. Like we'll do mocap and then we'll have stunt performers who are just nuts and they'll leave and I'll be like, hey, you want to go get dinner? And they'll say, oh no, we're gonna go to the gym. Like, what are you nuts? Like you're not an athlete. You don't have to do that. But they act
Okay.
like they're athletes, and I'm not sure why. I would say stop doing that.
Okay, so that's your controversial like
That's my
opinion
hot
here.
take. Yeah, that's my hot take on fitness. It's like just eat well, and get enough sleep, and you'll be fine.
All right. Okay. Not exercise at all.
No, I mean, I do a little bit, but I do like 20 minutes a day, 3 days a week or something. And it's
Oh
like, I just
wow.
don't know like how important it is to be an athlete if you're a stunt performer. I don't know how important that is. I'm not convinced it's that important. I think
Okay.
technique is 99% of it, right? Technique and physics, right? Like fitness, like you don't need cardio. What are they
Okay.
doing? Like,
Okay.
why do they have like they do cardio? Like, what are you doing that for, man? Like,
Okay, but cardio. Okay. What if like I have to look good, right? For
why?
camera, like
Why do
I
you need
need
to
to
look
have
good? You're a
abs.
stuntman. You're a stuntman. Why do you need to look good? Your actor needs to look good. You don't
Oh,
need to look good. Look at
okay.
me. Look at me. I'm the star of my movie. Why do I
Okay.
need to look good?
Okay. That's a really hot take. I think you'll
Yeah, you
get.
don't need to look good. You need to look real. That's what
Okay.
people want. You
Mm,
realize that like the new generation, all they want is real right now. They're sick
mm,
of six packs, man. Nobody cares about a six pack. I'm built
mm.
like a cinder block. Nobody like people have said before, like, hey, if you wanna make it, you might want to like start
Oh.
doing some juice. And I'm just like, why? Like, well, that's kind of expected. I was like, that's the 80s stuff, man. Like kids want real stuff now. They want real. So just look real. Doesn't mean like unhealthy. Like, don't be unhealthy, but like I think people lose vitality when they get like that.
Mm,
Like when you're trying to get shredded, you lose vitality. What you need is vitality on camera. That's what's
mm,
going to get people, right?
mm,
When you look real and you have like life to you.
mm.
That's my super hot take on this.
Yes, yes. I'm gonna clip this thing out to high heaven. Stunt performer's most controversial opinion will
Do
break
it.
your mind.
Do it. Do it.
Okay.
Stop working out. Well, don't stop working out, but like, come on. Going to work out after a mocap gig, like you're crazy.
Yeah, it's impossible. But I get what they are thinking. Like they want to be fit and almost entirely, but don't over that may lead to what's the word?
Injury.
Injury. Oh yes.
Injury, burnout,
Burnout, yeah.
loss of vitality. It's real.
Okay, so but you have to look fresh all over but as you said, you have to a 10-hour shift, but you have to still look almost ready in every take that you take,
That's all
right?
here. I'm just telling you, it's all here, or it's all here. I mean, it's all in your heart. If you don't want to do it, it don't matter how hard you work out. You're gonna perform like garbage. If you
Hmm.
don't want to do it, and if you're thinking instead about your Bitcoin and whatever, right? And then you don't want to actually do it, you're going to perform badly, right? But if you love doing it and you do it for the sake of, I do mocap now. I have like a spiritual path when I do mocap where I'm like, I want to tell the best story I possibly can right now. And I want to explore the limits of my body and figure out like how I can bring this character into this movement right here. To me, it's like the pinnacle of samurai movement. That's how I treat it. Like that's how Japanese people became the best warriors in the world, is that every cut meant the world, right? Every sword meant the world. And when you think like that, like you can move mountains and you ain't standing around lifting kettlebells all day in between your sword fights. You just do the perfect cut. You cut a dude in half. So that's really how I approach stunts now is like, I mean, I did God of War Ragnarok. It's like 3 years. And I swear to you, the most I would work out is like 15 minutes in between, 15 minutes, and then 3 days a week, maybe.
Oh wow.
I don't know. Like maybe I'm a freak, but I don't think people need to be athletes.
Hmm.
Let that be athletes. They're like different. Like stop doing an athlete's workout regimen. Just eat well and sleep
Hmm.
well.
Hmm. And don't do naughty things.
And don't do drugs. Maybe try and stop drinking alcohol. I think most working out is like compensating for bad sleep and alcohol.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
And like some bad eating habits maybe too, but
Yeah. But
yeah.
yeah, uh yeah, that's really good advice. Speaking of advice, what about like, for example, if someone new is watching, and that's the whole point of this podcast,
Yes.
by the way, to help new people. If someone new is watching and he is listening, he is trying to better break into the industry, not exactly mocap, but also fight scenes and whatnot. What would be Eric's advice to them or words of wisdom?
Pick up a camera and start making your movie. It's super simple. And buy my book, Badass on a Budget. I tell people this. If you want to get into mainstream stunts and you want to be on like the Marvel stunt team and everything like that, that's a lifestyle that is kind of like going into the military. It's really, really time intensive. Like if you want to get in tight with a stunt team and you want to get on to big movie shoots, then you need to spend all your spare time in a gym. Doesn't mean you have to work out the whole time, but you gotta like be present and like be noticed and put you gotta show up all the time. That commute's gonna be an hour and a half in LA. You're gonna have to go out to eat. It's gonna cost you an arm and a leg. You're gonna have to get in tight with the stunt team. So if you have personal beef with somebody who's higher up in the stunt team, now you got a problem, right? You're gonna have to kind of like kowtow for that. You gotta get tight with a coordinator. If you got beef with the coordinator, you got to kowtow to that guy. If you don't, if you got a coordinator who just has like a shitty lifestyle, sorry, I gotta say it, but if he's got a shitty lifestyle and he wants you to also have a shitty lifestyle while you're on an 8 month Netflix stint, what are you gonna do? Are you not gonna join him when he goes to the massage parlor? You could say no, but he's going to go with his other top guys. He's going to go with his fight coordinator and his assistant fight coordinator, his utility stunt guy, his previs guy, and they're all going to be there. They're all going to be yucking it up, and maybe they're married and they're cheating on their wives. I don't know. Like they're going to be tighter there after that than you will. So just know, and that's not always like that. There are some amazing coordinators out there, right? And I've been with amazing coordinators. They're out there. I did not have to do this stuff, but they are out there and they will make you do stupid stuff sometimes. And if that's the price you're willing to pay, then like, is that really the life you want? I don't know, right? So like, I ask people like, why do you want to get into stunts? Is it so you can bang chicks and get famous and get money? Then yeah, go do that. Have fun. But like, search deep down inside and ask like, is that really the meaning that I want in life? Like, do I want to get meaning from my work and make art and do something that's like meaningful both to me and my family? Do I want to start a family? You're probably not going to have an easy time starting a family if you're doing 8 months on Netflix in New York, right? And your family's in SoCal. It's going to be hard, you know? So you're kind of away like a soldier. And so I ask people that first. It's like, what do you really, really want? Because if you just want to make action movies, you can do that with this thing. You can do it right now. It's free. It's in your pocket. Get some friends and go and do it. Post it online, get feedback, try again. Within a year, you'll be able to make a good film and you'll probably get noticed. But if you're just if you're just doing this to show off to a coordinator and try and get like a coordinator to look at you, that's like a different lifestyle, man. So
And it
that's what I would say to people.
and it's a hard life if you're just doing for the glory and the spoils.
Yeah, if you're just doing it to like try and get fame and get laid, then okay, good luck. I mean, that's gonna suck. Just saying, it's gonna suck. Like even if you get all that, it sucks. Maybe some people would disagree with me, but like we'll see how like life expectancy pans out. And like right? Like I don't know. I have 3 kids. So for me, it's like they're just like non-negotiables now, right? And there have been for years now where somebody will say, "Well, hey, can you come and do this shoot?" And I'm like, "Well, how long is it?" "It's 4 months. Can I bring my kids?" "Not really." "Well, then no." Um, or here's another example. I got this MoCap shoot. I want you to do these very adult-like animations. Well, the answer is no. Well, and then I was asked this one time. It was like it was this like uh I can't even remember it had something to do with sex. Like they wanted me to act out a sex thing with somebody else. And it was like with another guy. And they said, "Yeah, sorry, it's kind of short notice, but there are these NPCs in the background doing this." And I was just like, "No. No way." And they're like, "Yeah, sorry, it's short notice." Like, it doesn't matter. I wouldn't have done it anyway. And they're like, "So just," and then they kept pushing. They're like, "Just curious though, like how much would it cost to do that?" I was like, "There's no price. Like that's not the issue. Is I don't put a price on being able to go to sleep at night." So so as a stunt, like that's just a question that you would ask yourself if you want to get into mocap. If somebody were to ask you that, right? And it's not common at all, by the way. Like this isn't something that you really have to worry about. It's like very uncommon. But if it did happen, what would you say? Right? And that's just going to define your priorities and, set you up for failure or success. Yeah.
Was it that kind of game? The adult-oriented game?
No, it wasn't. It was just a normal game,
Huh?
you know?
That's
So,
weird.
yeah, it's none of the ones I've talked about.
Hmm.
There have been other things too that have come down the pike where like they've come to our studio and said, like, we have like this we want to do mocap. It's a VR thing. It's not like necessarily adult material, but there's kind of some adult like actions in it. Um, and we just have like very firm kind of boundaries about that stuff, right? Where we're just like, no, we're just not, we just don't cross into that. It's not even about the money. It's just like we just don't find meaning there. Um, and uh, and so if we can't find meaning in this stuff, then we're not doing it.
Hmm. And how much, apart from, okay, before I let you go, it was an amazing conversation. Almost
Thank
two
you.
hours
Yeah.
went by like nothing. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, of course.
But the final thing is that it's you started your own company. When did you started it?
2019.
In 2019. So apart from all the creative stuffs, all the physical stuff, managing a business essentially, it's a whole different set of skills. And how did you manage that and how did you learn that? And obviously, as you said, sometimes you have to take decisions which are not, I would not like to say ethical, but it does compromises with your with the creativity and your personal beliefs and morals. So,
Well, you know, I don't I don't have like full sovereign authority at the company. I have a business partner. Um, and he and I kind of like tag team on responsibilities. So he's primarily like the operations guy in finance, and I'm much more the creative and on the boots on the ground. Um, I don't think I could do this business alone at all. I think it'd be impossible. And there's probably a pattern there. Like I imagine that people who are very creative and I'm very introverted and I'm very creative and I like to spend a lot of time alone, kind of like concocting things in here. And I think generally people like me are not very good at sales. We're not very good at finance stuff. I mean, I pay my bills, but like in terms of like budgeting the next year, I don't know. I just don't really have the brain for it. And so I would always say like try and team up with somebody who can if you want to make a business. Um, if if you're not really the kind who likes renegotiating contracts, then like you should find somebody else to do it. Um, if you tell me to make an action film tomorrow, I can do it. If you tell me to make a P&L statement, I just don't know my left from my right. Can't do it. I have my business partner for that. So partnerships are really important.
hmm. And basically knowing what you are good at and what you can be good at, from what you cannot do, basically, at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I could probably do it, but I know that Like there's a certain I have a transmission in my head where like I when I was producing Bag Lady, I would there would be a time of day where I would just handle logistics. So call sheets, catering, um, shot listing. I would do all that at a specific time of day when I just did not do anything creative. It was entirely just like getting the logistics of the thing down, not creating a single thing. There's nothing like introspective, there's none of that. And I found that in that, and like paying, if I need to buy something, get some craft services. Oh, I gotta pay the makeup. I gotta get this mask done. These things, right? Nothing creative, just kind of logistical. I I have the hardest time shifting from that gear. That's like reverse for me to going into creative mode, which is drive one, two, three, four, five. That's my main kind of way of going. I like going in that way. But if I have to go into that, if I have to go into reverse, I gotta go all the way back down to drive, stop the car, neutral, reverse. Now I can do this. Okay, now I can do this
Mhm.
for a little bit. Just leave me here for a minute. I cannot do both at the same time, and maybe that's common. Maybe there are people who can, but um, the thing is, I can do both. I can do our taxes. I do my accounting every year. I isolate my accounting like 3 days out of the year, and I just don't do anything else because I can't. I can't. I don't have a creative thought in my mind when I do that. So kind of knowing how you work personally, um, can kind of set you up to know like how to produce your own stuff. You're gonna have to produce your own action films when you start. You're just gonna have to. You have to make all the calls and get friends and everything. You're gonna have to order food and pay people, pay for transportation, change your oil while you're at it, all these things, right? So like, can you do that and like make creative decisions at the same time? Great. If you can't, figure that out because you will have to do both.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I don't have any more questions. If you have any final statement, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say like you can check out my book, If These Fists Could Talk. It's the story of our company, and also it's a book about violence, and it's very friend. It's not scary reading. It's kind of anthropological, and I have like an interesting theory on violence that I would like to have a response to from the scientific community someday. And you can follow me on Instagram at Eric Jacobus Official. I'm on X as the Eric Jacobus, and I have a website, ericjacobus.com.
Okay. I will put all the website in the description. And thank you very much for
Yeah,
having this conversation. And thank you very much for giving me this time.
my pleasure. Thank you.
And cut. Okay, just stay there.
Please, 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 I'm begging you. Please. I'm desperate. I don't know what to do. Please subscribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe for more content.
Subscribe to my channel.